Good morning. My name's John Hall. I'm a range master here at Gunsite.
And I'm Scott Burgess. I'm an instructor here at Gunsite.
And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk to you a little bit about the equipment that you want to bring with you when you come out to take a class so that you get the maximum training benefit from that class.
Well, that's great. Where should we start?
Let's start with the handgun.
Excellent.
When you come out here, you want to have a good, reputable handgun, whether it's a semi-automatic or a revolver. Either one is fine. You just want one from a reputable manufacturer, one that has good, visible sights on it, and a manageable trigger.
How about ammunition? What type of calibers do we want to see out here?
We don't want to see anything less than a 9. So for semi-autos, 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, or 45 ACP. And in terms of revolvers, 38 or 357 tend to be the most dominant ones.
So kind of like Jeff Cooper said, a heavy-duty pistol.
Absolutely. Something that's going to be realistic in terms of defensive use and is going to be an appropriate choice.
Now, obviously, we're going to have something to store that in. So what do you think we should look at for that?
Well, and this is one of the areas where people make their biggest mistake, and that's in the holster selection. They'll go out, they'll spend money on a good quality handgun, and then they try to scrimp and save money and purchase a holster that's not optimal. In terms of holsters, what we're looking for is something that's going to be rigid, something that's going to retain the holster well, and when you draw the gun from the holster doesn't collapse. Doesn't matter if it's Kydex or leather, as long as it's good, it's rigid, and it's from a reputable manufacturer.
Speaking of that, is there anything we should stay away from, probably?
I would stay away from the nylon holsters, the real inexpensive nylon holsters that as soon as you draw the gun, the holster collapses on itself. You're going to do a lot of presentations from that holster, and again, you don't want to have to fight your gear.
So bring something you regularly use. If you use a leg holster, that's okay as long as you use it frequently.
Right. Gunsite's all about being realistic in terms of what it is we train as well as the equipment that we're going to use.
And is there any type of holster that we should really not see because of safety reasons?
I would stay away. We recommend that you stay away from the Serpa holsters, and that's simply because the retention mechanism on the Serpa holster requires that you start using your trigger finger to release that Serpa mechanism. And unfortunately, when you're first starting out training, getting your trigger finger to do anything other than just manipulate the trigger causes some problems.
So we've got Kydex, we've got leather that's sturdy, and that really would go the same for ammo retention as well.
Yes, your magazine pouches need to be made of similar quality and similar characteristics as your holster. Something that's going to be rigid, retain your magazine, and not collapse on itself.
And that's going to hold ammunition. What should we tell them about ammunition?
In terms of ammunition, you want to try to stay with factory-made ammunition, and it's nothing against people that reload or even remanufactured ammunition. But when you come to Gunsite, you want to have everything that's going to work properly. So when you're training, you're learning the technique and not having to worry about ammunition that may be out of spec or be inducing malfunctions.
And as we're using the ammunition, obviously we're going to foul our weapon systems, so we're going to need to be able to clean that. What do we recommend there?
You got to bring cleaning equipment. I don't care what type of firearm you show up here with. All firearms are mechanical devices, and all mechanical devices are prone to failure at some point in time. Proper maintenance is key to keeping your weapon system running and running properly. So you want to have a good quality cleaning equipment, and you absolutely have to have some oil or some form of lubrication for the gun, because we're going to shoot a lot of rounds while you're out here, and your gun's going to be exposed to some very harsh conditions. And if you don't maintain it, you're going to have a lot of malfunctions.
Sure. And, if you forget that, we've got the perfect place for everybody to go in case they need to get that.
We do have a pro shop where you can buy just about everything you need in there. And while we are certainly more than willing to sell you all this stuff, there's also no reason why you can't save a little bit of money and bring it with you, especially if you already have it at home.
And, with shooting on a range comes loud noises. What do we recommend for hearing protection?
Hearing protection is absolutely mandatory whenever you're on the range. Whether you use the earplugs or ear muffs, both are fine and perfectly acceptable. As a student, what I've always found tends to work best is to have some form of electronic hearing protection, because the technology in that area has gotten so incredibly advanced and the cost of it's gone way down. And the nice thing about it, again, from a student perspective, is I can have my hearing protection on, and when it turned on, I can hear everything that the instructor's saying. I'm hearing all the commands. I'm being able to learn all the little techniques that they're talking about. But as soon as we start shooting, the safety mechanisms automatically kick in and my hearing's protected.
Would you recommend having double layer of hearing protection, for instance, the little foam plugs and these?
It's not a bad idea, but it's not necessary. If you have a good quality hearing protection, you really only need one of them.
Excellent. And, since we're going to be out there, we're talking safety, hearing protection. What about eye safety?
Eye protection is also absolutely mandatory on the range. You want to show up with, I would recommend, 2 different types of eye protection. You want something in terms of sunglasses with a tint on it, because again, we're in the high desert and there's going to be a lot of daytime shooting. Most of the shooting's during the daytime. So the tint protects the eyes, makes things a little bit easier to see, reduces the glare. Mm-hmm. But our classes also have a night shooting component to it. So you're going to want some clear eye protection, so when you come out at night, you can actually see what's going on.
And I remember one time a student wasn't wearing any headgear, and an extracted cartridge basically landed between their face and the glasses. So should we also recommend that they bring a hat?
Yes, you want to wear a hat of some sort, whether it's a ball cap, a boonie style hat. You want to wear something, one, because the brim will protect you from the sun, but also, just as importantly, like what you just mentioned, is it protects you from spent shell casings that are being ejected from firearms next to you and around you, and then that way you don't have to worry about things getting into your eyes.
And continuing on the line of safety, we're going to be getting up and down quite frequently in some parts of some classes. So what about these things?
Yes, knee pads and elbow pads are also something that we recommend. All of our classes, you'll be shooting from what we refer to as intermediate positions. You'll be shooting from kneeling positions, prone positions, and what we've obviously found out is the ground is a hard object, and when you're dropping down into these positions, having something on your knees or on your elbows helps to protect you from injuries. It's not a mandatory component, but it's one of those ones that it's highly recommended because we want you to survive the experience here at Gunsite.
And likewise with safety, it's kind of sunny out here in Arizona. What do you think about this stuff?
Sunscreen absolutely is an essential component. In terms of SPF, the higher, the better. The spray-on tends to work a little bit better, not so much because it's any better than the regular lotion ones, but people are more likely to use the spray-on, and we recommend that you come out here with some sunscreen and you put it on twice a day, once in the morning, once again at lunch, because if you get sunburn, again, you're not thinking about what it is you're doing, you're thinking about the miserable sunburn that you're having to experience.
And, along the lines of seeing and working at night, probably a good idea for flashlights. What are some of our guidelines on flashlights?
For a flashlight, you want a good tactical flashlight. There's many manufacturers out there. There's a lot of variety out there, but you want something that you can easily hold, has got a tail cap switch, makes it easy to work when you're running your handgun, because you're also going to have to reload it, clear malfunctions, etc. You want to stay away from the great big giant flashlights that hold like 5 D-cell batteries in them. Those are great for just doing routine tasks around the house, but in terms of defensive purposes, especially when you're having to operate a handgun, not so much.
We've really talked about a lot of gear, and it seems like I've got to have something to put that in, so probably a good range bag would be a good idea, don't you think?
Something to carry everything would be good, because if you don't have a central carrying component to it, you will without a doubt leave something back in the hotel room.
And we're going to be setting up inside these range houses. They're going to need to kind of compartmentalize their gear. So it's probably not a bad idea for them to have their ammo and their range bag that they can leave there at all times.
Yes. Here at Gunsite, when you come out for a class, you'll be able to secure all your gear on one of the ranges, and that way all you have to worry about taking back and forth is your firearm.
Well, we've covered a lot, John. I think really all students should be ready to fight when they get here. That's great. Thanks for covering all that.
Not a problem. It's my pleasure, and look forward to seeing everybody at Gunsite.
Have a safe travel when you get here. Get ready to shoot.